Happy to be back with you. This is Mark Rockford, and of course, my co host.
Hello, everybody. Matheus here. Long time no see. Happy New Year to everyone watching us. Hey, Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It has been a wild time since last we spoke. We'll
For
get into
sure.
that today, right? So, if you're watching this episode, we don't have a guest. We are our own guests. We're going to tell you what's been going on with Mark and Matt. We're going to start some warm and fuzzy, kind of meandering through our memories of interpretation and what interpreting means to us and all the good stuff that we so enjoy. Then we'll catch up today on what we're doing these days and or give you some updates and maybe if we still have time talk about the state of interpreting in general from an outsider's perspective at this point and an insider's perspective, so you kind
Yeah.
of get both ends of the spectrum, and then changes that will be coming for Interpreter Hub, right? So, Matt, why don't you walk us down memory lane? Let's talk about like what you enjoy about interpreting, or like what are you fond of?
You know that these days I've been thinking about how interpreting helped change my life, Mark, and it's amazing to think. Some of you guys might not know, but I'm from like a very small town close to Sao Paulo. So Sao Paulo is the capital city of the state of Sao Paulo. So there's the state that's called Sao Paulo, and there's the capital that's also called Sao Paulo. And I live like an hour and a half away from Sao Paulo, but it's a small town. And I was just thinking about like I'm 25 right now, but I'll be 26 in a few months. And I was just thinking about everything that interpreting made possible in my reality. First, like I'm communicating with you guys in confident English. That's amazing. If you without OPI, I would never be as confident as I am in a second language because it battle tested me, it forced me to adapt, and that was amazing. And it allowed me to work remotely, which changed my life forever, Mark. You know some of my stories. I traveled inside Brazil, but guys, just outside of Brazil, I lived in Colombia for a few months. I've been to Panama. I stayed in the United States for almost 2 months as well. Peru, the Amazon forest, like so many cool stories, and everything was just possible because of interpreting. So for me, interpreting is something amazing that changed my life. But I don't know for you, Mark, because things are different for you. I don't remember you saying you were ever an interpreter before.
Well, I've been an ad hoc interpreter and I've done some school interpreting, right? I've shadowed a ton of medical interpreters. I've gone through a lot of training courses and really learned to be, I consider myself an interpreter coach, right? Like a football coach or a soccer coach, right?
Oh,
Some of them are former players. Some of them are people that have just studied the game their entire lives and are,
yeah.
are good, right? It's a different skill set. Some people have both. Some people, only have one. But I have just always loved, I'm going to say vicariously helping others, right? Like it was such a treat and such a joy just to see the difference the interpreters made in people's lives. And I don't want to take credit for their work, but when you teach somebody how to do something well, then you really get to see just the difference they make compared to somebody who does that same thing
Exactly.
not so well. And as we know, there are lots of professional interpreters out there, and there are lots of interpreters that kind of fell into the profession and never really took it up. They didn't take any training, they just kind of worked at it, whatnot. And, as talented as they may be, if they're not following the norms, if they're not following the ethics, if they're not following the standards of practice, right?
Exactly.
Things can
And it's
happen.
very easy to not do that and not follow the protocols in the codes if you're not trained. Because sometimes you just want to like fix and deal with the situation ASAP, and then you might want to break a
Fix.
protocol. But because you were trained, oh, I shouldn't do that. But if you're not like properly trained, then you're gonna make some critical mistakes. Like that's obvious.
For sure. And it's not even necessarily linguistic mistakes because people are
No,
like,
yeah,
oh,
no,
but I'm perfectly
no,
bilingual and I know both
no, it's
languages and
not
I know
specific
medical
language.
terminology.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, you can cause, up to and including loss of life, right? Like there was a famous 911 call a couple years ago
Yeah.
where the
The interpreter didn't do that.
interpreter made some mistakes and some bad things happened,
But what did the
right?
interpreter do? Because some people might not know about that call. So if you can tell the audience what that interpreter actually did.
I don't remember the particulars of what she said, but basically she broke the neutrality, right? And she gave her opinion, right, that the person, I believe, wasn't really in danger.
Yeah,
I could be misquoting it, right? But basically, they didn't get the help they need because the interpreter gave their opinion, right? And
exactly.
I don't know if the person ended up actually dying or if it was
I
just
don't think they died. Yeah,
hospitalization,
no. But I remember
but
that story. Yeah. The
it was
interpreter said
horrible.
that, yeah, the interpreter literally said, no, the interpreter speaking here, ma'am, I don't think that this is actually going on because the way they're speaking doesn't sound like it's real. And if I'm not mistaken, the other party had been shot or something really serious, or it was a really serious situation. And the interpreter
Yep.
just said, I don't think this is real. Well, you can
Yep.
be bilingual, you can be extremely fluent, but if you do something like that, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It's like, you go to your accountant who's going to do your taxes, and they're like, oh, yeah, just add some extra zeros here or whatever. They'll never catch you for
That's
bank fraud.
fine.
I
Yeah, it
mean, it
doesn't
doesn't
matter. Just
matter.
fraud. Tax fraud's
Yeah,
nothing that important anymore. Yeah, that's why we say like being trained as an interpreter is very important. And like I feel that the real life tests you way more than the training ground does. So when you start actually taking calls, and myself right now, I have no idea, but documented calls, I don't know, thousands of calls, you learn so much. It's like it's something that affects you. It affected me as a person because I like to tell my friends that I have lived inside people's minds forever at this point. I have interpreted people that can articulate a sentence in their own native language in a meaningful way, and I have interpreted for PhD level communicators in Brazil that just happened to not speak English, but they needed high level interpreting anyway. So you start seeing how people think, how they articulate thoughts, how they see and perceive reality. That's also something interpreting really helped me a lot to understand people and to talk to people, know which words to use. It's a really good skill.
it is, right? Because not only, I mean, let's get out of the linguistics for a while, but it's also the psychology. Like, I mean, we're people. We all have a lot in common, and we all have a lot different. And there's, I don't know, I think the saying is in Spanish, cada cabeza es un mundo. Every
Yeah,
head is its own world, right? So, and perception is reality, and your perspective shapes your perception, and there's just so much that goes
absolutely. Yeah.
into it. And as an interpreter,
Complex.
I mean, you have to keep like it's an interesting trick because you're keeping yourself separate from the person, neutral, right?
Yeah.
But you're also literally
Mm,
walking in their shoes, as it
exactly.
were, because they're giving you their word
Exactly.
and their
You're
voice.
absorbing everything like a sponge.
Yeah, yeah, which is like I think like I don't want to. Again, I think you have to, and you could speak to this trick better than I can, but I've observed how some interpreters, nothing affects them, right? It literally goes in one ear and out their mouth, or in one ear and out the other, right? And others really suffer from vicarious trauma, but some
Yeah.
people
You
they
don't
just
necessarily
separate.
need to suffer from it. What I meant to say though is that you start understanding how people work. And for example, there was a season in 2025 I was addicted to learning copywriting skills. Like I saw this coach and he was like, if you learn copywriting, you're gonna be a millionaire. And I was like, this guy again saying that I'm gonna be a millionaire. That's BS. That's not reality. But I was like, okay, let me study it. And as soon as I started writing copyright, I was like, man, I know exactly how to talk to these people because I've seen them speaking through thousands of calls. So I know how to trigger them. I know how they would say something. Not the way Matheus would say something, because Matheus has a weird lifestyle. Stays stuck inside his bedroom forever, interpreting international calls. So maybe that's not the way real life people want to see an ad. That's the way Matheus wants. But then it started affecting everything for me because it taught me how to handle people and how to handle pressure. That's things that interpreting taught me that are really valuable. I don't know if you agree with me that interpreters can benefit from the field more than just language, but also social dynamics, learning how people behave, how they talk.
100%. There are a lot of valuable skills that you can learn in interpreting. I would just say that you have to be open and you have to want to learn them, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because it's like anything else. There's a famous book, it's pretty old. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. It was written in, like, I want to say like the 1990s. It was a study of millionaires, right? And one of the things that always stuck with me is the optimist versus the pessimist, or the realist, right? But there are people that are just more aware of the world around them, and
Hmm.
get these opportunities, and they usually consider themselves to be optimistic, or lucky, because they see things, and they
I
said
see.
they did things like, I believe it was like putting a $20 bill down, right, on the floor underneath the bar where they were coffee bar where they were sitting or whatever. And like the optimist would spot it more often than not because they were
And yeah,
open to the world around them, and then they would say good things happen to me. And the pessimist was so wrapped up with like, oh, everything's
everything's wrong.
wrong, and
Yeah.
nothing good happens to me, and so they would miss so many opportunities because they simply weren't paying attention and open to those opportunities. Like now people talk about like manifestation and all kinds of other
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Law of
But
attraction, right?
law of attraction, you put out good stuff, you'll get good stuff, which is mostly true, right? There are obviously exceptions on both sides of the
Yeah, yeah,
rule,
yeah.
you
The
know,
universe is crazy, yeah. But
but you're 100% right,
you reap what you sow,
Mateus.
generally
You
speaking.
will learn skills as an interpreter that are so far
Yeah,
distinct and outside of interpreting that are just super
man, it's
useful.
just like it's crazy. I'll make a comparison here, guys, and I want you to listen to me closely. I don't want to sound arrogant or misplaced, but think about it. Sometimes I'm talking to my friends, my regular friends. They've been to college, they have a regular job in town. That's their lives. They're not aware of how big the world is and how many problems there are out there. For example, I've been exposed to the U.S. system for many years, like heavily exposed to the system, seeing how hospitals work, how city halls work, how everything works, seeing immigrants struggle. That's something like my friends don't care about what's happening with the immigrants right now, but my mind cares because they're like, yeah, things must be tough for the immigrants now. Why do I even care about that? Exposure, so many years exposed to a universe that people around me don't have access to. That's something interpreting is giving to you guys too. Maybe you don't realize, but think about it. How much medicine have you learned? I'm not saying you're a doctor, but I'm saying like you were exposed to situations where you're seeing things happen, you saw people communicating, you know how a doctor talks, how a judge talks in another language, in a native environment. Maybe you never left your country. So like interpreting gives us so many good things. So yeah, I was, be very grateful for what the
Just take a
profession has
step
given me.
back. How many different life events have you been party to that you would have never experienced? You're not a dad yet,
How many
right?
stories? Yeah,
How
yeah.
many births have you heard happen over the
Ah,
phone?
no idea, man. Really, I have no idea. I don't want to exaggerate, but hundreds.
Right. I'm sure you've heard tons, right? And then you've also probably heard the like the first time I heard somebody die over the phone, like that is just
Or communicating to a mom that a child's no longer alive. Yeah, that's
impactful.
impactful. Like some stuff happened. Of course, we're not going to disclose anything that happens in this calls here, but I'll just give you guys an idea that some stuff can really mess up with your mind in a bad way, but some stuff can be very positive for you too. Like sometimes you talk to a doctor and you're just interpreting what the doctor and the patient is saying. But let take for example a therapy session. How many times I was interpreting a therapy session and I was like, yeah, you know what the counselor is saying makes sense. Maybe I should try that myself as well. And I was like, that's crazy. It's too much exposure to so many random things. Like I was interpreting a call for a prosecutor, like from New York, and I was like, my life is crazy. Like I'm a kid that grew up in a slum in Sao Paulo, and suddenly I'm talking to a prosecutor from somewhere like 8,000 kilometers away from here. This is insane, guys. This is
That's
insane.
awesome.
This wasn't possible 20 years ago, 30 years ago. That was like alien technology.
Wow. That is great. So let's kind of dive into what you're up to these days, Matt. Are you still interpreting?
I am still interpreting. I am still interpreting for sure. I'm doing some OPI gigs because it's what pays the bills in the end, and it's also something I like. And I talked to Mark about that. The day OPI ends for me is going to be a sad day because I will lose exposure to native English environments, and I really like to keep my English sharp. I try to force it, but it's difficult without a native environment. And when OPI is not something present in my life anymore, that'll be a problem. But it's like I just love it. I still interpret every day, and the company I work with, I'm not gonna name the company, but everybody knows I'm a big fan of this company. I love their clients. I love the call. So for me, it's not a job. Like I feel it's a blessing to be able to work there.
That is awesome, man. You do get to make a difference in lots of people's lives and
For
have
sure.
that
They make a difference in
exposure.
my life too. So it's yeah.
Matt's out there like this, and the clients are.
Yeah, client, you know who you are. If you're watching this, you're part of this company. Thank you. We appreciate it.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to kind of jump off of that because we talked about skills that Matt has, right? Learned through interpreting about people skills and whatnot. You may have missed what he said earlier, though, that he has spent months in Colombia, in Panama. He traveled to the United States as a tourist, right? Spent a significant amount of time there. How did you do that, Matt? Did you just have all the money in the world, or like what
Yeah.
skills did you have that made that possible?
I woke up one day and I was multimillionaire. I don't know really how that happened, but it was just like an overnight success. People told me that that was gonna happen at some point because I'm so talented, and it just happened. I woke up multimillionaire. I'm kidding, guys. Like the reality of what happened is like you guys are watching Interpreter Hub, so it starts with Interpreter Hub. When I decided to create Interpreter Hub, I never thought that that was going to attract the eyes of clients on me too. They would see what I was doing with Interpreter Hub, but they would want my interpreting services, especially high level interpreting gigs in RSI instead of OPI. Again, I love my OPI clients, but
Remote
the
Sentinel,
RSI gigs
if
are
you guys aren't
completely
aware.
different. Yeah, I cannot disclose which clients I worked because that's extremely confidential. There's NDA signed, but high level clients around the world that pay like let's say what I can make in a week working OPI, they would pay in half a day. Depending, I don't have events like that every day. You know what I mean? But I had a few clients, a few events, and that kept happening for a few months, and I saved some money. And I had to go all in because I was like, bro, I keep telling everybody the story that I work for people in the United States remotely, but I've never been there in person. So I would have to break the bank and actually go there. Then I got the visa, the tourist visa, and I was able to actually go. And I stayed in so many times. I'm gonna list a few places here. I arrived in New York. I became a homeless guy in New York for one night. It happens. It was a logistics mistake. Don't do what I do. New York's very expensive. You really an Uber drive can cost you $300, and that's reality. And then I went to East Orange. Have you ever heard about East Orange? He's American. He doesn't know about that. But I was there
Oh man, I'm
lost a
horrible
month.
with geography, man. Horrible with geography.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Philadelphia. Philadelphia. You've been to Philadelphia before, right?
I've been to Philadelphia.
Philadelphia was amazing.
Lots of areas around Philadelphia and New York. I couldn't tell you all of
New
them,
York.
but
Guys, I have
yeah.
to tell you one thing though. When I went to the United States, I had this weird play inside my mind. You guys are gonna judge me, but I'll be honest. I wanted to make a short film, literally record a short film, which was called The Ghost of the Line. So, which was like the person that kept hearing these voices on the line through the headphones, but he felt called to go to that city in person. In this case, it was the city of Philadelphia, and I recorded everything. It's like it really looks like a movie. You can see my first reaction the time I entered Philadelphia for the first time. You can see me going to some of the facilities I interpreted for in real life, and it's really cool. But I just never got to release that because I recorded everything in 4K, 60 frames, and it's really difficult to edit. It's like you need a really solid computer to edit. But guys, I have like a movie, so it starts with me in the United States going to all the hospitals I interpreted for, the most important ones, especially in the city of Philadelphia because it's a very important place for me. And then I stayed in Miami for one month. Crazy things happen in a city like Miami, of course, you know. Stayed in Miami for some time, and then I went to Denver in Colorado and Colorado Springs. You know a place called Garden of the Gods?
No, can't see
Amazing
what I do,
national
man.
park. And guys, if there's anybody here close to Denver or Colorado Springs, you guys know which park I'm talking about. That place is amazing. And I left Colorado Springs and I went to Colombia again. I was in Colombia for some time in Bogota. And then I had a crazy idea of going to the Amazon forest, which was one of the most important moments of my life. 20 hours across the Amazon River on a speedboat, like a meter away from the water. And the Amazon River is scary, guys. That's not a joke. The Amazon River is huge. That's all possible because of interpreting. You see, like, Mark, how can I forget the years I was an interpreter and everything it did for me? Can I say
I
bad
mean,
things like,
well,
oh,
you're
I
taking
hate the
advantage of it.
industry, I hate being an interpreter? I can't do that, guys. I'm
That's
sorry.
the whole point, man, is you took advantage of it, you're taking advantage of it, you're saving, you're budgeting, you're using financial skills that you may or may not learn as an interpreter. That's up to you. That's separate, but that gets into what we've talked about before
Yeah,
and where we'll go
last
with
year.
this later on, that you can build skills as a business owner. Like we've said, you are your business, right? You don't have to be
But
only
they
your
don't take that
business.
seriously. They feel like, oh, I might be my own business, but I'm working with these clients. Guys, you need like, do you have a website? Like, do you have an AI system with an email campaign targeting your specific clients? Which clients are you targeting? Like, you're an interpreter. Can you interpret medicine and then you can interpret a high level banking event around the world? I don't think so. I think there's things you can do very well and things you cannot do that well. Which clients are you targeting? So when I see people saying, no, I'm my own business, but are you really operating like your own business? Are you really looking for clients? Are you building your structure? Most people I see, they are not doing that, Mark, but they say, oh, the industry is really bad. There are no clients. And I'm like, what are you doing? What are you
You know, they
doing?
only want to pay me 8 cents a minute or whatever else the case may be. And they used to pay me 20 cents a minute, which is true. When there's more competition and there's
That's tough.
equal or we'll say lower demand, I don't know what the current demand numbers are, then the rates can be pushed down, right? As people get into the market. But as you're
OPI is tough,
saying,
guys. Yeah,
you
OPI is
can
gonna be that tough.
definitely prospect, you can beef up your resume, you can have multiple clients so you're not
You
dependent upon
can.
any
You don't
one.
need that
There
many
is
clients
so
to do
much you
well,
can do.
man.
It's hard, but
Everything's
There's
hard
a
in this world. It's nothing
Well,
it's easy.
everything's hard. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. You got to pick your hard. Which hard do you want? Do you want the hard of prospecting, of getting new clients, of putting yourself out there? Or do you want the hard of they don't pay me what I want to get paid? I'm not making the money I want to get made that I want to make. I'm not making the volume that I want to make or the I'm seeing this more frequently now. I'm not on LinkedIn as much as I used to be, guys. You've
Me
probably noticed
neither,
that
yeah.
as well. But I'm still seeing lots of like, hey, we require you to be on the line for 8 hours, but we're only going to pay you for talk time.
No,
That just,
that should be a crime. I disagree with that
uh,
wholeheartedly. I don't agree with
I
that. As a very much,
agree.
we don't agree with. You agree?
You're going from selling your all of your time to letting them take out the most valuable piece of your time, right? But you're still captive. So if you're running your own business,
Maybe they'll
you
send you
can
some calls.
decide whether to do that or not, right? Sorry,
Yeah.
Matt, go ahead.
No, I was just saying maybe they will send you some calls. Like you gotta stay here for 8 hours. We just pay you for talking time, and maybe we're gonna send you some calls.
What's to incentivize them to? I mean, if I
I don't
were
know,
an
man.
interpreting company like that, right? And I don't know who they are. I'm
Yeah.
not mentioning again names or
No,
whatnot.
we're
But
not
if I were
not
that,
saying no
and I knew
names.
I'd had 3 calls coming in, why wouldn't I have 4 or 5 interpreters just sitting there? And who cares who gets it, right? If you guys all passed
It's
my
psychological
whatever my
torture,
entry
exactly.
process is, because I want to have enough people sitting there to take all of my potential calls which sucks for the interpreter, but not for the company, right? So, I've always been, in my time in this industry, a big believer that it's a give and take, that it is a symbiotic
Yes,
relationship where
symbiotic.
both parties need each other, right? So, you got to
But it's
decide
so
your working
difficult. You don't
conditions.
have that many big good companies, Mark. It comes out to a handful of companies that are actually gonna treat you well, pay you on time, not miss payments, not like they're gonna be really honest with you. It's difficult. So that I don't want to say names, guys. Y'all know, like you can comment here the companies you guys like and the companies that you think are problems. But we all know, like if you see on LinkedIn, there are certain clusters, like there's a cluster of companies that all very skilled interpreters are either working with these companies or they already worked with these specific companies. And then you have the other, which we call BPOs. I don't want to get into that because I don't know if the audience here, everybody understands what a BPO is. What does BPO actually mean, Mark?
Business process outsourcing.
Can you briefly explain to us what that company is actually doing and why usually when we have BPOs, they are paying much less than companies pay
Yeah,
us
because
directly?
they're based in the country, right? Let's say that they're based in, oh, I don't know, Egypt or wherever. You pick your
It had
country.
to be
Like,
Egypt.
it could be, I mean, it could be Mexico, it could be Colombia, it could
Not, we're
be
not making, not saying any names here. Just
Haiti,
that Egypt as an
IT. I
example.
mean, it could be, I mean, they're in quite a
In
few different
Brazil, yeah, it
countries,
could be
right?
anywhere. Yeah,
Brazil. Yeah. So like, yeah, I don't want to come across as like it's only Latin
yeah,
America, or it's only the Middle East, or it's only Asia, or
it's
no, they're
usually
they're
there.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but what they do is they hire folks in their own country, typically for either as an employee or a contractor, depending on the local laws,
Exactly.
regulations, and whatnot. But they look to pay the least they possibly can, right? They have
To
incredibly
make it
high
at least.
turnover, and they basically then sell those services for, 50% markup, 100% markup, whatever the
There's so
case may
many
be.
issues with this, man.
Yeah,
So many
but
issues.
they don't care. Like they're not there for
I care.
anything other than a profit, right? And their way of getting the profit is to charge very low prices to the U.S. based companies and then pay very low prices to whomever they get to work. And there's so many people desperate for work in many of these
Yeah,
countries that they'll put them through 2 weeks of training, sometimes more, sometimes less, whatever, and they'll just rotate through interpreters. They don't really
that
care.
creates the
That's
butterfly
not to
effect.
say all BPOs are bad, though, Matt.
No,
There
yeah,
are
yeah,
some
no,
good
there's
ones
some
out
that are
there.
good. Like we had we had a good BPO here once with us. You remember Mohammed was here with us. People talk very highly of his BPO. But it's like I said, they're not always hiring for your language. So sometimes you're desperate looking for a job and you're like, I need a job for my language pair. And depending on your language, it's tough. I'll talk about Portuguese. Eu falo português, pessoal. Sou brasileiro. I'm Brazilian. I speak Portuguese. I interpret Portuguese. What happens in Brazil? It's hard to find highly fluent people in English. So that makes they pay us better than the Spanish market, for example, where you have way more people that can speak both languages. So depends on your language. With Portuguese, what happens is these interpreters that get hired by these companies, they rarely leave the companies. And most interpreters I know, they don't do it full time. So for them, it's like, I'm only gonna do it part time anyway. I'll do my best. The company has zero issues to fire these guys because the guys are working really well. They don't work full time, so they always do their best. They never leave. It's difficult to even, apply for these companies. And then people go look for BPO. Sometimes in our WhatsApp community, we get messages all the time. Oh, does this company here pay on time? Is this a good company? I don't know, guys. Like, all I know is the companies I work for and the ones I heard about. But there's like anyone can start a BPO, I believe. I don't know if you
Super
need to.
easy.
And
Yeah,
yeah,
in
it's
most
like,
countries, it's super easy.
are they gonna pay
Right.
you in the end? I don't know. It's like, guys, I don't know. That's the thing. You have to really do your research or due diligence.
I mean, we can say that also these companies that I don't even know if they really count as BPOs that are just kind of like glorified recruiting and retaining firms, right? That,
At this
you know,
point, I don't
that
even know the difference anymore. Who's a BPO? Who's just recruiting and retaining? I don't know. So many
yeah,
agencies.
yeah, that they're going to make a difference in the market, and then they just come in and do the exact same thing because
Do you agree
it's
that
really
there's a
tough.
butterfly effect? For example, if you start training a lot of interpreters and you work with a high turnover, and then like in a few months' time you're gonna fire your interpreters anyway, or they're gonna quit because they don't want to work, feeling like they're slaves. Then you're gonna have like a lot of people that consider themselves interpreters because they have been trained and they're actively looking for work, and then everybody's gonna suffer with rates going down. I might be delusional, guys, because I've lived so much this month that perhaps I'm delusional, but it makes sense in my head that you have a lot of people that were trained and now they're looking for a job, and that will make rates go down. So BPOs not only pay interpreters poorly, but they also cause this butterfly effect. But that's just my opinion. Don't take
Oh
it
no,
for
it's
granted.
simple
Yeah,
economics. It's supply and demand, and you've actually seen that. I'm going to pick on Brazilian Portuguese, right?
for sure.
Brazilian Portuguese 10 years ago, how many skilled interpreters
Mm,
were
yeah,
there?
you're
They
rich
were
if you were an
few and
interpreter.
far
Yeah, 10 years
between.
ago. Yeah.
Yes, and now there are way more
Wait, a
interpreters.
lot. They're coming from the BPOs. Like we get on the Portuguese channel InterpreterHUB all the time. People saying, "Oh, I work for this company here. How can I work for this big company or this other big company?" It's always the same 3 or 4 companies that people ask about, and we're like, "Guys, that's difficult. Like, send your resume. Like, that's what everybody wants." But it's a tiny market in the end. When it comes to OPI, now everything I lived, guys, was not with OPI. Like traveling and doing those things was RSI, was different clients. I talked about something in the Interpreter Hub group. I will share with people here because Mark and I are gonna come clean with you guys. We're working on some other projects too, so I don't feel threatened by explaining this strategy. But with Interpreter Hub, how I got good clients was looking for philanthropy projects. So these projects that they had a budget, a fixed budget, and they would either spend that budget or they would have to return it. These are the clients that usually pay way more for interpreting services. However, the language level is also considerably higher. Like you have to be really solid with both your languages because you're not going to be interpreting for an LEP that's trying to say his date of birth anymore. Like you're going to be interpreting for somebody with a PhD level in your country that does not speak English, but your rates are going to go higher, skyrocket. That's
Well,
one
and
thing. Like
and
yeah,
and you're also doing simul. You're not doing consecutive anymore. You're
it's
doing
way harder. Yeah,
simultaneous.
IMO is a different world in my opinion. It depends. Not really harder, but depends on the
A lot of
client,
simul
depends on the
interpreters
assignment.
say it's easier once you get the hang of it. They,
Yeah.
they they say it's easier,
It's more
right? So
responsibility, I would say. Like if you break the line and if you stop being the conduit or if you like get really nervous and if it's a big event, it's high stakes. Unlike OPI where you in your bedroom calmer and
well, I would say you get some high stakes there too, right? There are
with
different
OPI
stakes,
it
right?
depends.
In
Yeah.
the in your RSI, there's
Not
typically a lot
comparable.
more
Yeah.
money involved,
Yeah. It's not
right?
gonna
With very
compare.
visible clients and whatnot. But in the OPI, I mean, yeah, you have routine
Clients are more
stuff.
forgiving with OPI. Even the English speaking clients will be more forgiving. Now, at least my experience with my RSI clients are like they speak English. They just want somebody that speaks it better than they do to communicate more complex ideas. So they'll be able to tell later on if they watch something recorded or if their peers tell them that you were not really following them. And here's the thing I made some money because I was interpreting from Portuguese into English. So it makes things a little harder for the interpreter, I imagine, especially in this level. But it depends. Like if you want to make more money, my suggestion would be don't rely solely on OPI. Like build your little agency and look for specific clients. Like what do you actually like? Do you like engineering? Do you like politics? Do you like what? Because interpreting is very broad. You agree with me? Like sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm an interpreter." Bro, you can be many different kinds of interpreters working with many different things we don't know. Like it's you saying you're an interpreter doesn't really tell much about your situation or what you can do.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, you're going to want to continue to add to your skills and you're going to want to add to your clients and you're going to pick what you feel comfortable with to a certain point because at some point you probably will have to expand, push your
Yep.
comfort
Yep.
level so that you can continue to add more clients because all of the easiest places to work are chock full of applicants, right? So, and then what I will say in my time in the language industry, there's always a cycle, right? You're right. Right now, there's only a few big companies, and only a few of those are the ones that are most competed for to work
Yeah.
to provide services to, right? But there are up and comers, right? There are
There's
companies.
always people coming.
Yes, 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 yes. There's market research that you can see
Hmm.
on who's growing year after year, what services they're adding, right? And
You gotta
every
be the
couple
first one to
years,
find them. Yeah. Don't wait for everybody else to know which is the new upcoming agency. That's when they will already have their interpreters hired.
yeah. Oh, and they pay more at the beginning typically because they need good interpreters and they need people that are going to sit there. And those are typically the agencies that'll pay you per hour or they'll pay you a certain amount just to guarantee that you're
Yeah,
there,
you know how
right?
much you're gonna make beforehand. Like, you're not gonna be there just waiting for calls that might never come.
And I mean, take it with a grain of salt. Like this all depends upon your language, right? Like if you speak Marshallese,
Yeah.
as an example, super rare language, there are only a few companies that are going to even want to hire you because they're the only ones with any type of volume for Marshallese, right? So that's just the way it goes. But when you do get hired, you're going to make a lot more
Yeah.
money than Matheus, who speaks Portuguese, because he has a lot more competition than you do for Marshallese or whatever your language happens to be,
Things have changed
right?
really quickly. Yeah, I don't know. Like when I started with OPI back in 2022, it was completely different to what it is today. I don't know what actually happened, but maybe it's because we created Interpreter Hub and now we actually see the interpreters together. But it's like I see so many Portuguese interpreters now, and in 2022 it was rare. Like I felt like I was a
Oh,
small
no, I
leader,
think there's
and
been
no
an
one was
explosion. I really
replacing
do.
me.
And I think it's
Yeah,
due to, like you said, the BPOs and the
yeah,
other companies that are hiring and training. And then once you give people a taste of the remote work
they're not going back to what they
lifestyle,
used to do. Yeah,
it's really hard to go back. I mean, because in some of these
good point.
countries, I mean, I'm going to pick on Mexico because I currently live in Mexico. I love Mexico, right? But when I first got here, you could go to a medical appointment, you'd see like the doctor of the neighborhood charging like 20 pesos, like $2 at that time, right? For like to check you out or whatever. Granted, that's not everywhere, and that was the little doctor office that was like, out of
Yeah,
his home or
yeah,
whatever. But that's super common here, right? Do they charge that now? No. Now you can go for a free consult to the
yeah.
majority of the pharmacies because they hire the doctors, obviously
Oh,
with
that's not the way things
with a
work in
plan.
Brazil. That's interesting.
Well, but I mean, they hire the doctor because they want the doctor to prescribe the medicine that that pharmacy actually has. So
That's really interesting. Yeah,
it's
ecosystem.
a way to attract clients, man, which it works, right? And there's so
Of
many
course.
doctors here that need work, right? But those same doctors, if they're bilingual, instead of making whatever they're making at the local pharmacy,
They'll make more.
they probably could make more interpreting over the phone. But that's why you
That's
Spanish interpreter are probably no longer getting, I'm going to say 30 cents, 20 cents,
30
15
cents for
cents.
interpreter Spanish. Interpreter Spanish, comment here how much you're making in average.
No,
Tell Mark
no.
he has no idea what reality actually is. He said 30
Oh
cents is
no,
the
no, I've
average.
seen stuff for 6 and 8 cents like the last time I was on LinkedIn, man. So, I
It's
know that
crazy
there's a
how that
wide
goes.
variety of rates. There's a wide variety of competition out there, a lot of demand, but a lot more supply that just keeps growing, right? So, I mean, back to the skills you can learn, besides prospecting, you got to learn differentiation. You got to learn to set yourself apart. There's just so much that goes into people skills to actually have a good interview, to be memorable, to be funny, to be charismatic, right? There's a lot
I
that
want to
you
give
can learn.
people another idea too, and I want you to be honest with me. If you think this is a good idea for somebody in this position, or if I'm being delusional again, think about it. You're complaining, you have your OPI gig, and you work every day. You got tired of that. Like it's comfortable for you. Like there's no challenge. You can interpret that with your eyes closed, and you're like, man, I want to make more money. I think I am an experienced interpreter. Here's what Mateus thinks you can do, and how you can use Interpreter Hub to actually make it happen. you can start a little cluster, like a little group of interpreters that you trust for multiple languages. And then you start going after your RSI clients, for example. You pick a niche and you go chase your clients, and you're the project manager now. You're not the interpreter. So you're going to guarantee that your interpreters have the level of quality that you want. So they're good interpreters and you have a good product. And you're going to go after the clients and you're going to run this project. That can pay you a lot of money, more than OPI could, and that would change your mindset as well. And you can do everything with AI. You can get AI to do your website, your email structure, to find your clients for you, to even write the message for you. You can get an AI agent to send a message for you. So it's like, what are you actually doing out of your interpreting skills and your international exposure? Because so many people in your country right now, and my Brazilian friends can relate with what I'm going to say now, they're working at a supermarket for $400 a month, and they're working full time from 8 in the morning to 6 o'clock, and then they have to take care of their house and everything, and that's difficult. But some of you guys are in a privileged position and you don't see it. You have specialized knowledge. You're bilingual, trilingual. Some of you guys can speak 4 or 5 languages, and you have a community that we created for you, so you can do something and empower yourself. You agree with me,
I
Mark? I think that is
agree.
reasonable.
You can do it, but it won't be easy. Here's the thing, right? Like the internet,
Wish it was
YouTube is
easier.
full of things promising you get rich quick, or if you only do this, you'll be a millionaire. You'll wake up tomorrow, right? If you
They're
just
selling
say
you a
30
library.
million
They need a
times,
library.
I'm going to make $30,000 a month, it'll happen. It won't, right? You've got to go after it. So you can use AI. I 100% agree. Don't be intimidated. Learn it. Just keep practicing. I do. I use AI every day
Me
almost
too.
now, right? I use a ton of Chat GPT. I do pay for it, right? I have it do stuff for me. It's a thought partner where I bounce ideas off of it. I have it create stuff for me, and then I edit it. I go through and I read it and I think about it. That's why I'm saying while Matt's idea is a good one, you can't just have AI do it and send it out. You can't automate everything. You got to think about it.
Oh
You got
yeah,
to
yeah.
have
You
it
have
keep your
to show some
voice.
grit. Yeah.
Oh, 100%, right? Because you've seen like what I noticed on LinkedIn is there's a ton of AI slop,
Bro,
right?
yeah, yeah. Please don't be lazy. Like you can
Read it,
instruct
edit
your
it,
AI model.
think
Yeah.
about it.
Like you can do something thoughtful, not just sloppy and lazy that you just say, "Oh, here, do this for me."
Yeah, 100%. So, and then, I mean, let's talk about, so Matt has some projects that he's working on outside of Interpreter Hub, right? That's one of the reasons we haven't been here, and besides for his traveling. I've also got things that I've been working on, multiple things, but I've actually turned some of them off, right? What I've learned over the past year is something that I've told myself multiple times, and until it really sank in, I didn't really like internalize it, I guess is what I'm gonna say. I didn't really follow it. So I'm gonna give you the advice that I have trouble following, and it is focus. Sounds really
That's a
easy,
difficult
right?
thing.
But over the past year, I had, like, so obviously I no longer work for the company, which you can see my profile on LinkedIn, who I worked for. I've been out of there for almost 2 years, I think, right? And so I focused on, at first, I was going to focus on the projects the businesses that had been side hustles, that had been outside of my working experience, right? But I was like, no, I can do more. I can do this, that, and the other. So I started a land investing company. I started Interpreter Hub with Matt, right? I joined Interpreter Hub as, I don't know what he called myself, a senior advisor or whatnot, right? We did this podcast, and he kept me, like, props to Matt, like, super active on LinkedIn. No, Mark, you gotta
Yeah,
be
you gotta do
visible,
that. You gotta do that.
right? And so I was just doing a ton of stuff, right? I set up this, like I said, a whole other business,
Many things.
right? We have a business in Mexico that helps Mexican citizens get their visas for a variety of countries, right? So you can see we actually have a new logo and whatnot. We're
Oh,
expanding, dude. Business is
cool,
a
man.
full contact sport. It's really easy to understand what you need to do. It's really hard to
To do.
effectively do what you need to do, right?
And
So over
understanding
this
is what
past year, the
executing
land
is.
investing company, I shut it down. It's turned off, right?
I
I
was
do
a part
have,
of that project, guys. The land
yeah,
project.
Matt was
Learned a lot of
great,
things. Yeah.
but and it was good, but it was taking efforts away from the company that makes the most money for my family and I, which gives us the lifestyle that we want to have, which is the
Yeah, you
visas.
have to.
My wife is a dentist, right? We want to grow her dental office so that it is, as a dentist, she shares a lot in common with you guys. Everything depends upon her, right? But a business, a true business, doesn't depend upon the owner only.
That's interesting. Yeah, interesting.
Because if your business depends upon you, you have a
Job.
self-employment, you have a job,
Yeah,
right? And so how do you change that? You do what Matt said. You hire other people or you work as a
create a
as
system.
a lead generator where you make money off of, other people's work, or you save your money and then you start to invest that and make your money work for you. There's a ton of things you can do, right? And that's what we're going to get into most likely in future episodes is the mindset, the skills, the other things that you can do to truly run your own business, right? And so over the past year after, besides shutting down, starting, spinning up, and then shutting down the land business, right? And obviously pulling back out of Interpreter Hub so that it's not something that I've dedicated a lot of time to, although Matt and I have still been in contact
Yeah, of
and chat
course. Yeah.
fairly frequently, right? I've really focused on the visas. We're going to like we had to get a trademark, we had to do company registration, we had to do a lot of stuff that is slowly coming to fruition. I'm working on some technology as well. The idea is to become our vision actually is not an idea. The vision is to become the primary, the best, most well-known visa company in Mexico, right? Because there is not one that currently dominates the market. There's no Coca-Cola of visas. There's no Starbucks of visas, right? And that's what we want to do because we want to
Awesome.
make a
Yeah.
difference in people's lives. You say, it's a visa. I mean, traveling makes a huge difference in people's lives, and you
Yeah.
can't travel without a
Without a
visa,
visa.
right? So, I mean, yes, there's some countries that your passport will get you into. I'm not knocking those countries; those are great. Highly recommend those as well. But if you want to go to the United States,
You got
Canada,
a problem. Yeah.
Australia, China, and a lot of other countries, as a Mexican, you need a visa or an ETA or a lot of different things, and it can be
Somebody. Yeah.
stressful. And like everything else, there's a lot of fraud out there. And so our philosophy as a business is that we are transparent. We tell you what we can and can't do. We tell you what the process is going to entail, timelines, costs, everything. And we make it so that it's as stress-free as possible for our clients as any bureaucratic process can be, which honestly we do a lot, right? So sounds easy. How are we going to become that? Right? Well, there's a lot I've got to do, right? So we've been working on social media. We've been working on our marketing. We've been working on our team, like it's a ton, right? Like you got to have the right people. And we have a much bigger team now, right? We're continuing to grow. We're continuing to work with partners. We're continuing to see what the clients need. We're continuing to learn. For example, we learn from also from a lot of experts in the field who actually used to work in consulates and embassies, and what were their processes, what do they share, like there's a lot that goes into this, right, to continue to grow and
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
the best and take care of our clients. So I'm excited, like building a business. Oh my god, is it hard, right? Like a true business, but it is fun. Like it's, again,
Yeah.
simple and easy to understand.
Uh,
It is a mother effort to execute, right? So
Execution is always the problem, right? You have the idea and it seems flawless. You start executing, reality punches you in the
Well, you
face.
got to take
What are you
action, just
gonna
like you
do?
and your trip, right? Like,
For sure. Yeah.
where would you be if you were like, oh, someday I'm gonna do
One
this?
day I'll have a visa. One day they'll let me in. Nothing would have happened. That's it.
Yeah, the someday never comes, right? So many people get old thinking, when I'm 50, I'm gonna do this. When I'm 60, I'm gonna do that. When I finally quit working or have enough savings, I'm gonna go visit Europe, or I'm going to start that cake,
Yeah.
bakery that I've always wanted to
That
do,
day might
or
never come.
whatever. Well,
Yeah, man.
it won't, guys. Life happens, right? I mean, I'm gonna just, in my particular case, my father was killed at a very young age, right? he didn't get it tomorrow, right? I bet a lot of you know people like that, or like where one thing has changed your life. You might have been mugged, you might have been
Mm,
shot, you might have lost the use of your legs, or
somebody
it might be
important,
something
yeah.
really good, right? That changed the trajectory of
You
your
know,
life. I hope it's
chain of
the good
events, yeah.
one. But the point is, if you plan only for tomorrow and you don't take action today, tomorrow
Today, yeah.
often never arrives.
Whenever
So,
arise, man. You're right, spot on. I agree with Mark. I learned there's two quotes here if I could share with you guys, and I don't know when our next episode is gonna be, but it is the first one I learned from Jim Rohn, which is don't wish things were easier, wish you were better. That's a strong philosophy because life is gonna be challenged. So you're gonna start your own interpreting agency with RSI like Matheus told you. That's not gonna be easy, that's gonna be really difficult. But it's exactly because it's difficult that you're gonna make money and you're gonna be able to travel one day or have your house, your car, or whatever. And something else, like when I was just entering the city of Denver, when I was in the United States, I saw this huge sign that said, "The way you look at things change the things you look at." I don't stop thinking about it. It seems like a silly sentence. Yeah, Mateus is a weird philosophical guy. I don't like that BS he says, but it's really like the way you look at things change your life. Like it's not the things that are gonna change; it's the way you look at these things that will change. You agree with that?
oh, 100%. Like things happen to you and you can choose to look at it in a good way or in a bad way. I was actually, so I have three children, for those of you who aren't aware, and I try to be, a dad that imparts lessons, right? And let like share my experience with my kids. And one of those things I try to tell them is that, all clouds have silver linings. Like, what does that mean? So all problems are also opportunities, right? You can learn from stuff. I mean, you've heard it like tritely put, like if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. But while that can be true, the way you look at things, like, oh my God, I got to go to work today, or oh my God, I get to go to work today. Like I am
Change
healthy
everything. Yeah.
enough, I can walk, right? I can put on the headset. I've got, I'm surrounded by great people. My family is awesome, right? You decide which of those two tacks you want to take, right? Because again, I like picking on Matt. Matt's 25. He's 25, right? Who at the age of 25 gets to say, I've lived through several hundred births, multiple deaths, I've traveled through X number of countries, right? I got myself out of the slums, out of the favela, right? Who gets to say that?
Guys, I'm gonna hire Mark to do my personal marketing. You see that? I'm gonna quote that. It's pretty good.
Not a lot of people, right?
A
But
lot of them.
everybody listening to this could be that person because they have
Exactly.
so much working for them. I'm not kidding, right? You're bilingual.
Yeah.
However, you got to be bilingual, whether that's through your
Majority, yeah.
parents
That
sacrificing for
was
your
the hardest part.
education, right? Or you sacrificing for your education, or whatever the case may be, your language skills opened up a door.
It is an
You get
advantage
to
that you have no
decide
idea.
whether you walk through it, how you take advantage of it, whatnot. You can spend all your time on LinkedIn bitching and moaning that there are companies that pay 8 cents. Or you can take the 8, 10 cents you make, build more skills, go out and get 12 cent, 15 cent, 20 cent, 30 cent, $50 jobs, whatever the case may be, and go after it, right? Or just even simply, the millionaire next door talks about one of the most common professions to become everyday millionaires are teachers. Teachers don't make crap, even in the United States, right? Like they are not well paid professions, but they tend to be disciplined. They tend to save their money, right? And so they retire as millionaires after 40 or 50 years in the profession. Seems like a long time, but they got
Goes
millions of
by.
dollars when they finish, right? You can make that happen also. Every country's different. I know, I know, I know.
He's just
But
giving you guys an example. Yeah.
yeah, there's lots of
Yeah.
opportunities out there, and you can go after them if you choose to do so. You can change your circumstances, even if it's just a little bit every single day, right? So, I mean, I'm not gonna strip off my shirt, but like my body is unrecognizable from what it was 10 years ago, right? I had a dad bod. I was chubby. You can see pictures of me. Like I had a fair amount of
Old
extra
style.
weight, right?
Yeah.
I changed my eating habits. I do a little bit of exercise every
You
day. I
change
only
your
do two
hair too.
things. I did change my hair,
Yeah.
right? I
If
only
you
do
guys
two
remember
things.
old Mark, he wasn't like this. Mark's changed a lot. You're looking way better now, man.
Oh,
Congratulations.
thanks. I
Way
appreciate
off.
it.
Yeah.
But my point is, they're simple things, and anybody can do them. What do I do every day? I walk, I try to walk. Try to get my 10,000 steps or my 30 minutes, right? And I do some
Discipline.
push-ups in the morning. That's it. That's
That's it.
it, right?
No
I'm not a
miracles.
gym rat.
Discipline.
I could be, I'd love to be, but I have three kids. I don't have time to be a
It's
gym rat.
difficult.
It's not
Yeah.
my priority. My kids are my priority, right? So, but my point is, I made it happen with little changes that added up over time. Your bank account's the same way. Little changes that add up over time make a huge difference. Your skills. Matt talks about how he works on his English all the time by trying to keep it sharp, by interpreting, by
Good
speaking with
stuff.
native
Yeah.
speakers, by being immersed in the English language online, right? There's so much you can
And
do.
yeah, you could say like, oh, but working in English is not going to change my life. I'll just give you one short example. There's an app called Tandem, which you go to practice languages, right? And I was just there speaking English, and there was this Brazilian guy that recognized that I had a significant level of linguistic awareness. And it turned out he was a doctor. He is a doctor, like a surgeon, and he worked in the United States as a doctor. And he works for the federal police in Brazil. He has like a lot of money. He's a very well off doctor, very rich guy. And he was like impressed because of the way I speak English, because according to him, that was impossible to reach outside of a native speaking environment. And then I explained to him, oh, I had access to that environment through OPI, and he got to know me. This is the kind of guy that just sent me a message saying, it doesn't matter whatever you need from me in terms of investment. If there's a project you want to make come true, we can work and make that happen. He was like, we can make that happen because I trust you. That all happened because of English, not necessarily. But what happened is the way I speak English sometimes make people say I'm very aggressive towards learning. So they'll be like, oh, if he reached that level in another language, then he can, learn any skill he wants if he really works hard. And I gain his confidence. That can work for you with anything in your life, not necessarily English, but it goes for any skill. It's just like you have to focus on
AI.
achieving mastery. AI is an example. If you become a master user of AI, you're gonna have a better life. Like it's infinite the things you can do. It doesn't matter, but you should chase mastery in something. I'm chasing that
And you should get
outside of
started.
English now, but
Just
yeah,
start somewhere.
choose something and chase mastery. You have to be an outlier. Otherwise, which competitive, I don't know, like you don't have anything in your favor if you don't work hard to become the best you can potentially be. And you're competing against yourself all the time. The figure you see in the mirror when you look in the mirror is exactly who you should be fighting every day. Like, I want to be better, stronger, wiser. And I learned all this from Jim Rome. You guys can see I'm literally quoting him, but I really recommend this kind of content, this kind of mindset. If you're watching us here, and we're like 52 minutes in the video now, Mark. So that means if you're watching, it means you already are someone that has some certain likelihood of becoming successful in life because you're here and you're listening to this talk about mindset. I think that's it. The way you look at things change the things you look at.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I mean, to keep on with quotes, but like normal efforts bring about normal results.
That's good.
Extraordinary efforts bring about extraordinary results, right? You can't get to any really good place if you're not willing to put in the time and the effort. And it's consistency. Consistency beats anything else, right? So we are 52 minutes in. I think we're at a good spot, right? We didn't
Yeah.
get too much about the current state of the industry, but we can talk about it later.
Well, we'll be
We'd love
back.
to maybe monthly, right? That we can try a monthly cadence
Perhaps.
if we can be here, check in, continue to encourage you because interpreting, whether you've been in it for a year or whether you've been in it for a month or whether you've been in it for a couple decades, right? It's still a great opportunity that can open more doors for you. Whether
For
you
sure.
choose to take advantage of it, whether you choose to make it your only opportunity, or if you use it as a building block, it's up to you. You are the only one
You
that
make your
limits you, man.
choices. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I second with what Mark just said, guys. Focus, find something you really believe in, dedicate your time. You see, compounding effort is a real thing.
It sure is. It's been wonderful catching up, giving you guys an update of kind of where we're at. I'm sure there's more we can
Cool.
talk about later because we could have kept going
Endlessly.
for
Yeah,
probably another hour. But, we'll put this up and we
for
will
sure.
try to be here a little bit more regularly. Thank you
We'll do our
all.
best. Thank you, guys.